here on, do y'all mind? Sound check, and we'll be back. Yeah. That's like my.
You know?
Trust me.
Well,
We've not been very good on the trip.
And-
As much as I
Well,
can. My grandma-
That's what you get.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the zoning board said.
Well, we didn't go for that.
No, they didn't. The zoning board of appeals, and those things. Change it all.
That's great.
The zoning-
There you go.
We've had a couple. of
9-5.
things Where they tried to, bring parking places.
Oh, yeah, the people
And then
driving,
I never voted for it, but I like to do that.
And this is podium three.
you know what they had said?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody drives still like that.
My-
Still like the big, I was gonna pay more.
Yeah.
Palatka Planning Board order at 4 o'clock. We're going to start this meeting with an invitation done by George Deloach, and I can ask you this, but Ms. Rawls, will you do the pledge, please? Yes, ma'am. Never mind, George. Put that with Mulberry.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Ready to say the invocation, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Father, again, we thank you for this day. We thank you for how good you've been, how you've blessed us to come together once again, and we appreciate your kindness towards us. We pray, God, for the wisdom that is necessary to direct the city the way that you would have it to go. And Father, keep us mindful of who we are and what we represent as it relates to you. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Welcome all to the planning board meeting. Grant, will you call the roll, please?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barnes is not present for the record. Mr. Deloach?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Ms. Rawls?
Here.
Ms. Wilson's not present for the record. Ms. Owens?
Here.
And Chairman Kilber.
Here.
Thank you, sir. We do have a quorum in the chambers.
Okay. We'll read the appeals procedure and ex parte communication. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the planning board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. Florida Statute 86.0105. Moving into the approval of minutes, is there a
Make a motion.
Ms. Roberts has made a motion? Is there a second?
I second.
All those in
Is that
favor?
motion to approve?
The approved minutes. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
She's not making a motion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You can fire.
I'm trying to move here, Miss Son. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, motion passed unanimously. And we will move into our regular business. Excuse me. Okay. Actually, I should have gone into public comments. I'm sorry. Is everybody here wishes to speak to the board? Public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the regular business. Ms. Walsh, PV case 23-10, amended code to include tattoo parlors in C1A and C1 zoning. Would you like to present that to us, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The current city of Palatka code does not list tattoo parlors as either a permitted use or a conditional use within the C1A neighborhood commercial district or C1 general commercial district. We've been receiving requests pretty regularly for these things. They've been coming in, often opening illegally in various places around town. Illegally being not in accordance with the zoning code. So after discussion with the city manager, we are requesting to amend the code to allow such a use as a conditional use within the C1A and C1 districts. Public notice for the proposed change was included in a legal advertisement on April 15th. And there's some background to this. In 2021, there was an ordinance passed that permitted tattoo parlors as a conditional use within the C2 and the downtown business districts. During most of the 20th century, tattoo parlors were directly tied to unsavory behavior. They often have a negative connotation about them. And historically, zoning codes either outlawed them totally or severely limited them where they could locate by minimizing those locations, and often imposed some pretty heavy duty conditions or restrictions if they were permitted somewhere. Over the past 20 years or so, tattoo parlors have become more mainstream and the number of people with tattoos has increased dramatically. Staff is proposing these amendments to provide for them to be located with a conditional use within the C1A and the C1 General District, General Commercial District, in addition to the downtown business and C2 districts. This will allow the planning board to impose any conditions they see fit when they do come before the board for conditional use request. Staff recommends approval of the proposed change and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Anybody got any questions, staff?
No.
Would you love to worry, got your word hat on?
You wanna go get a tattoo?
Okay. Earl?
No, I just, I'm not against them. I don't have one, but, when I was a kid, bowling alleys were crime centers. I don't bowl and I don't get tattoos.
You and Fred Flintstone. Oh, did I say it?
All right,
Okay. All right, well, I will open this up to the public. I have a comment from Electric Kitchens.
My comments will be not this one, it's for the next one.
Oh, I thought that was, oh, I'm sorry.
I forgot to put in the number, it's for the
Your
first.
handwriting is terrible.
That's why I used a sticker for my name label.
Okay. Well, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
which one y'all want to take that? Okay, well, you take your picture and everything. Okay.
I need to ship it out long.
Okay. All right, well, then,
All those in favor?
thank you. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous in favor of.
Thank you very much.
Thank
The ordinance for this will go before the commission at their next meeting, the next two meetings actually.
Okay. Right. Moving on to PB case 23-11, where the planning board of zoning appeal. Applicant City of Palatka. Ms. Walker.
This was initially started as an attempt to blend in the zoning board of appeals with the planning board, and we talked about this last month or so, 2 months ago or last month. And you all were in favor of considering it and perhaps taking on additional duties and sitting as a separate board. Ms. Leader got up to speak about it, and she brought up a point that it would be possible, if that were the case, it would be possible for you as the same people to hear a possible appeal of a decision of your own board. And so that doesn't work very well. That doesn't work very well at all. And so, and I also got to looking in the code and some other people's codes, and one of the things I'd like to pose is the possibility of utilizing a special magistrate instead of the zoning board of appeals, similar to how we do code enforcement cases. It's something that again, we have it on the books, we have the process in place for the code enforcement cases. And again, the zoning board of appeals hasn't met in over 5 years, and there are currently 3 vacancies on the board. So I would ask for your thoughts on that idea, utilizing a special magistrate.
How many appeals do they see a year?
None in the last 5 years.
So couldn't the magistrate that does the
Code enforcement?
yeah, do,
Yes. It could.
and then it wouldn't be on any of.
Right, it wouldn't be a conflict for any of the boards,
Right.
and it would person could appeal any decision made by any board.
Right.
So to me, using a magistrate would be a very clean way to do it. And I'm not saying that appeals is not a clean way. What I'm saying is that they haven't met in X number of years. And the board that we have to manage, things have gotten really busy around here. And that's, that's my thought.
Have they tried to fill the vacancies or get a hold of the people that are on the board? Has anybody contacted them?
I have spoken with Ms. Kitchens.
She's the only one on the board that has. Is she the only one that's active or?
Well, no, I think Marcia,
Marshall Lane, Cleveland Hobbs, I forgot the.
those are the only, yeah.
Sorry. Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. Marshall Lane's the other one on the board, Cleveland Hobbs, I can't remember the name of the three ladies. We're not active because there's been no cases coming before the board.
Right.
And
the zoning or the variances that have been requested through my office so far have been related to new construction. And one of the main criteria for a variance to even go forward is that it cannot be something that they caused. So if Longhorn comes in, they say, we want 1,000 square feet of signage versus the 200 that were permitted, that's their own thing that they caused. So it doesn't meet the criteria to move it forward. And that so far, I haven't had any so far, but I suspect we will sooner rather than later.
Ed, can I sit down now when you call me up for my comment?
I'm sorry.
May I sit down when you call me up for my comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You probably said, then, are there many jurisdictions that use,
They use a magistrate?
yeah,
Did
you know?
Gainesville does, I know for certain. And I'm not sure, I didn't look at many other cities. I looked at Gainesville and Ocala. I looked at St. Augustine. Gainesville was, theirs that seemed to have the most robust ordinance. St. Augustine and St. Johns County and Marion County and the city of Ocala still utilize a zoning board of appeals or a body similar to that.
And obviously it's been working there.
Right, but they also have much larger staffs.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
No. You all were just kind of looking at me, and we're kind of sitting here looking at each other, so, I mean, what were we gonna do with this?
We don't have to do anything with it right now because it's, you don't have to hear it. I just wanted to put that forward to you and ask if you would like to consider utilizing the magistrate instead of the CBDOA board.
Okay. Well, I guess.
How's that magistrate will be selected? Just somebody,
It would probably, if we don't utilize the one that we have right now for the code enforcement cases, it would have to go out for bid.
And how do the board members feel about it?
I haven't spoken to anyone other than Ms. Kitchens because I wanted to get your thoughts first, do more research, and then come back with that information.
I understand she's all for it.
I'll deal with you later.
All right, well. I guess we'll go to public comment at this point.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. This is the first I've heard of the special magistrate. I'm not necessarily for it. I don't necessarily agree with it being with the codes enforcement because I believe that the people have a right to have basically a jury of their peers to hear their problems. However, if they do go with the special magistrate, Ron Brown is a very good attorney, and he's very good over the codes enforcement, as a codes enforcement magistrate. I would say this, as the board has not met in 5 years, there's no reason to think we're going all of a sudden that our zoning board's going to all of a sudden have 50 or 20 or 100 cases the next year. So If it hasn't met in 5 years, no cases have come before us, why bother it? Leave it alone. Let the board stand, and if you run out of volunteers and you don't, we have a quorum currently that serve on the board, if that changes, then deal with it then, but let sleeping dogs and sleeping boards lie, I would say. Leave the board alone. I can't speak for Marcia Lane, she is against this. She spoke against it several years ago when Dad Grove tried to get rid of this. Even though it's not used very much, it is there, and it's one more way for the people to have their voice heard and to have an appeal. So I don't necessarily, I'm 95% against it, but I'll consider it, but I don't think we need to deal with it one way or the other. As far as the caseload and management from the planning department, they do a great job and they are overloaded, but they don't have to deal with us in any way, shape, or form, so forth. So again, I'll say, if we have no cases, nothing's coming for us, why don't you leave us alone? Let us stay there, and then if all of a sudden we get a bunch of cases and there's no people to volunteer on the board, then do something then. So that kind of sounds ambiguous, but I'm against getting rid of any more voice for the people. People need the right to appeal. Thank you.
I have a question, just, let's say that we were to go the magistrate route, and then all of a sudden there were to be a huge influx of zoning appeals and things like that. How difficult would it be then to, if we were determined that it wasn't good to, the decision maybe to undo that, I guess? Would that be a very difficult thing to then have to say, is that even possible? To then, like, if we were to have it go to a magistrate, and then if the zoning appeals were, just much more frequent, and then we realized that we did need a board, is that a very difficult decision to then undo?
It's a lengthy decision,
And
and it's a lengthy process.
And then my other question is obviously it's been 5 years since they've met, and if there were to be a zoning appeal now, it would be fairly difficult to, because there's 3 vacancies, to then get the board together and find 3 people. Is there any likelihood, given that it's been the 5 years, that we would see a huge influx then of zoning appeals in the next few years? So there's a lot of new growth and things like that. I understand that, but in your opinion, what do you think would be likely the case for the next 5 years? If these 5 years are firmly that they have.
If the next 5 years are anything like the last 2, there will be more. I've had a number of applicants come in and ask to request a variance from the zoning code. And so far I have been able to deter them just through our conversations and explaining that they don't meet the criteria that's in our code at the moment. But there's another one coming in. Some are more insistent than others. And they have deeper pockets. Honestly, they have deeper pockets. There is another one coming in that I think is going to be very insistent. Which will probably end up going through. And again, if the next 5 years are if the last 2 years have been any indication, looking at the trend for the next 5 years, I think we're going to see a lot more of it.
So how many board members do you need?
I think there's 7 positions, and we currently have 4 that are filled.
4 that are occupying the seats sound like they would like to still occupy those seats. So I would be in favor of leaving the board and going out and trying to find 3 more.
With Caitlin's concerns and questions, Allegra's suggestion makes the most sense. Keep them.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Allegra. And if you've got 4 people,
That hurts
Yeah.
to agree with Allegra.
yeah, that hurts to agree with Allegra. Right, individual.
But at such time as it needs, or,
And she's right. We need to be heard by our peers, and it's a lot easier, A month ago, I was standing in this room in front of a board, and I walked in with a notion to do something, and I walked out with a completely different perspective on the whole thing. So the boards of your peers is not necessarily a terrible thing.
you're not convincing me now.
Okay.
So look around the room.
But I You know, and that's just the way it is. I mean, your peers we have a lot in common. We all live in this city. We all know what we like around and what we don't like around and what's fair and what's not fair.
I don't like the idea of one person deciding whether I can do what I want to do or not.
That's a great point too, also. You know, when you have a board, you have a couple different perspectives at least. I think one of the things for me is knowing that if we were to change it and things were to go where we see so much more come before or zoning appeals, it's not a very easy decision to then kind of backtrack what we had decided. And then a lot of that goes towards one person, like you said, and then you just have one perspective and one voice kind of determining.
And one influence.
But I also understand the perspective too, you know, there's 3 vacancies, and I think having a board too that doesn't meet, hasn't been 5 years is probably very difficult to find, you know, people to commit to, you know, too. So I understand that perspective as well.
Okay, so what we're looking, I'm sorry.
No, I shut it off.
So what we're looking for here is with our board, what yay or nay, is that what?
A year here would be great. I don't, you don't think you need to vote on anything, just some possible direction in your thoughts.
Mr. Wallace,
I say we leave it like it is till it gets broken.
Village,
Oh, Mr. Wallace.
Ms. Ross,
I agree.
so. Okay, so I think that's your consensus that we think it should need, just stay like it is for right now.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Is there anything else that's to come before this board? Staff, you have any comments?
I do not, sir.
Okay,
As always, thank you for volunteering.
okay.
And keep in mind, you know, we can also ask friends to volunteer for that board as well, so they can help fill the seat.
I actually have another question, sorry, so let's say that something were to come before the board and they couldn't find the 3 people. I don't know what the time frame is that they have to find 3 people, or if it's, you know, what that kind of works, but what then happens? Are we then forced to either merge or choose a magistrate? And this is just because I'm asking, because I'm not totally sure, I
I
guess.
don't think you'd be forced to do anything.
We
Still, it would just,
Yeah.
it would be a matter of whether or not you have a quorum. So all 4 people that are currently on the board have to show up.
If we've got names,
If one is, it has to, then we don't have a quorum, we don't have a meeting.
if we've got names of prospective board members for that, which I do, do I tell them to come see you, or do I give you the name and y'all call them, or how?
May I answer the question?
Yes,
Mr. Wallace, there is a board member application on the city's website. They can simply download it, fill it out, and bring it into me and I'll present it to the city commission. I can tell you that I do have one application pending, for either the planning board or the Board of Zoning Appeals. Under the direction of the city manager and the planning director, I've asked that person to hold off until this decision is made, because I told her, instead of the commission having to pick which board to put her on, if those boards are being merged, then she would just go on the merged board. So I do have one application pending and 3 vacancies.
You need 3, right? 3 more.
Yes, I have three vacancies. So the pending one, theoretically, if approved by the commission, would fill one of those vacancies.
Mr. Cranks, just for, to clear the air, that was not a question, that was a statement.
I'm confused, that confuses
You
me.
said, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think she said, can I answer his question?
Okay, we'll go with that.
Don't take that, son.
We'll go with that. Okay, well, any board member have, Mr. Wallace, you have any comments?
Comments about what?
Just in general, that's part of it.
Later.
Mr. Float? Rob? No? Okay. Another one more thing for our adjourn. Ms. Thomas, are you on the air?
Yes, sir, I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say goodbye to you again.
Again? Yes, I know. I thought it was goodbye too, but doesn't seem that way.
Okay, well, this is gonna be your last meeting there, right?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
But, and Ed was very, disappointed that he didn't get invited to the Bubblies and Groceries for your retirement shindig.
Yeah.
Next time, invite him.
Ms. Thomas,
Absolutely. But I did not do the invitation list. It was a surprise.
Yeah, I know that, Ms. Thomas. That was said towards somebody in the room other than you. So,
Ms. Thomas, I give you permission to call in into our meeting anytime and yell at Mr. Kilbrew for not acting right. Give a motion. Second.
no, thank you again, Ms. Thomas. We love you and we're glad that you're going to go home and rest.
All right, thank you.
Okay, there's, Ms. Walsh, anything else to say?
I have nothing else, sir.
Great.
No, but thank you again.
Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Adjourn.